Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Stephen McKee on the line. He's founder and managing member over at backporchhomes.com. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time.
All right, Stephen. So, hey, I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about secondary dwelling trends, and I'm excited to have you on the show for this because I know that's a lot of what you're doing over at Back Porch Homes. But before we do that, let's just go a little bit further into Back Porch Homes. Tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
The short version of it is we're a tiny home for your backyard. Most people buy these as a secondary unit behind their existing home or for a vacation rental somewhere.
That's awesome. And just to give people a framework, because I've seen some on TV, I've seen some, YouTube, other things like that. For people that aren't aware of what a tiny home is, tell us a little bit more about kind of square footage or just some of the amenities. Like, give us a feel for that.
So we have a studio models, our flagship. It's 255 square feet. If you have seen any tiny home shows, you've seen a lot of lofts and kind of kooky stuff. We're the exact opposite of that. We're a single story, very conventional, 12 by 8 living space, 10 by 8 kitchen, and 6 by 8 bath. The idea is to build something completely universal, handicap adaptable, something that anybody could use. We didn't want to limit our customer base at all.
That's awesome. So let's just dive right into today's topic. So secondary dwelling trends. I mean, you're obviously in the middle of this, helping people with affordable housing and expanding their living space. I mean, where do you want to start with this topic?
So the legal changes are probably the most important, right? The state of California, several states, but the state of California for the most part has made it really easy to build a secondary unit in your backyard. A lot of trends where either kids, are moving back to their parents' house, parents are moving their kids, or kids are moving the parents in. There's, affordable housing is obviously an issue. People are willing to put a rental in their backyard, right, to rent to somebody who otherwise couldn't have afforded a larger property. The state of California has made that exceptionally easy, and they've mandated that the cities remove any arbitrary guidelines. So within 60 days, you can get approval for a prefabbed home in any backyard that'll fit in. I mean, call it 7,000 square foot lot or larger.
Wow. And so what is this? What are some of the uses that you're seeing for this? So you're in the middle of this a day in and day out. Like, how are people using this?
So just to tag this so anybody listening to it later knows, we're still in the middle of coronavirus during this interview. One of the things who have been calling a lot of us for is just a secondary unit for an essential worker, right? If there's police, firefighter, whatever someone's job is where they're constantly on the front lines, they're separating themselves, and they want a unit in their backyard that they can they can either isolate a family member or isolate themselves in. But I mean, prior to this, the primary use was either a person who wants to buy it, live in it in like a friend or family member's backyard, somebody they're going to rent space from, or utilities from, and they were going to take it with them because it's very mobile. You can tow it with an F-250 to their new home, and then at their new home it would become a secondary source of income. And then the other obvious, primary obvious use is either hospice or seniors in general, right? The property's made single story for a reason. If it's a hospital bed, it's got a 36-inch opening, 42-inch hallways, 32-inch bathroom door. We want to make the thing as handicap capable as possible so seniors can go through end-of-life transition, in the backyard of a family member's home, but they're not in the home, right? We were going to do an ad that essentially says, 50, do you want to be a burden on the family, or just close to your loved ones? 50 feet can make all the difference. And just that walk to the backyard gives somebody the privacy they need, and the quality unit gives them a nice place to stay.
No, it makes total sense, and I get it completely, and especially with the different, depending on where you're at. So let's talk a little bit more about the geography and the areas that you serve, because just so people have a feel.
So we'll ship anywhere right now, but we'll only manage the installation in Southern California. Our factory is here in Corona. We can expand to 38 other factories across the country as the company expands. However, we're focusing our first year here in SoCal just so we can be a little more hands-on, right? As founders, we can actually show up to the property and verify the work, change systems. And then once we build a really solid system, we'll launch a franchise model nationwide.
What kind of response and feedback have you heard from your clients that are using these?
The main response people get actually is we're surprised how big it is. I say 255 square feet, and people go, 255 square feet. But then they come out to our showroom here in Riverside, which they can book through our website to come view our prototype unit. And they sit down in the living room, and they never considered that, a 12 by 8 space isn't much different than a 12 by 10 space, with the exception of you're just a little closer to the TV, right? Your TV is not 60 inches, it's 45. The other really common use right now is people are talking about putting them in the backyard so they can afford a better home, right? They, maybe on their own they could have only afforded a $400,000 or $500,000 home, but if they put one of these in their backyard, the payments are sub $500, so they can collect rent, give somebody a nice place to stay, and it helps them pay the mortgage.
Wow, that's all great ideas, especially for those investors out there, for people that are renting things. I mean, that's awesome. I love it. It's another source of cash flow. So, Stephen, that being said, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about Back Porch Homes, what's the best way for them to reach out and to connect with you and your team?
So the quickest way to get information would be to go to backporchhomes.com. We're on every social media site, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us Back Porch Homes. If they want to call the office direct, they call us at 951-394-1844, 951-394-1844, or they can email us at everyone@backporchhomes.com.
Fantastic. Well, Stephen, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about all the great work that you're doing over at Back Porch Homes. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Stephen, thanks again for coming on the show.
Well, thanks again for having me. Good to talk to you.